So today I'd like to share with you something that's car related. It's not exactly in the shop, but still something I made a while back. And actually this one is by request from someone that I know and currently has a Supra in the shop. So when you first get a wheel for like a PlayStation, it's kind of hard to get that mounted somewhere that's worthwhile and get that to function well. So my initial designs were just something that would fold up and stay out of the way, but still kind of keep things lined up when a little easier. The first generation of what I have here was a real simple steel frame I already had laying around. Added some more tubes to the back to mount a TV to, and then found a car seat. In fact, this is actually a back seat for a Chrysler minivan, so that's why it folds flat. And to get that initially to work and have some height adjustment, it actually runs a tractor air ride suspension system on the bottom, so for a seat. But of course, tractor seat wasn't quite where I wanted to go. And the other advantage is a minivan seat like that is actually far more comfortable. I didn't want a full-on race seat because that's, well, designed for a different purpose, and I wanted to be comfy. So in every generation of this I've had has had at least one butt kicker on it. That's a very nice product, especially for video games. It actually makes it where it's fun to play a regular game with sitting in the seat. Say a first-person shooter or that, kind of shake you up if you blow up something. So when I got to where I was thinking of making a improved design for a gaming station, I actually had a friend that wanted to purchase my old one, and so I actually tore the old one apart, cleaned it up, painted it for him, and actually even installed it for him, and that's a pretty nice addition for his house. And then I started building my own version, which is much larger because I wanted to package electronics inside and then have everything close up, just out of sight, out of mind type thing. And of course still wanted the TV to be mounted to it and just left the TV as a permanent mount. I didn't try to hide it. No, I did initial design work in 3D CAD to make sure I had the dimensions right, and at a certain point you're just trying to model little tiny pieces, so I just decided it was time to start building it. So inside, the electronic packages are actually all rack mount, so it allowed quite a bit of flexibility, which came in handy later. And then a lot of the rest of the framework that goes internally is actually extruded aluminum. I used a 80-20 system. You could use Bosch tubing or something similar, but it just gives you a lot more mounting options. But they also have guide rails and stuff that I use to mount the steering wheel mechanism that moves up and down in the new generation. So the first design of this, I had the seat would go up and down and then would slide back and forth just kind of on the guide rails you see on the floor. And then the steering wheel was a little more fixed, but it would push in to stow away, and then you pop it out. So you just kind of had the two settings in and out. So a little bit limited on adjustment. The shifter was actually on a sliding post type thing, so you could actually adjust that to where you wanted it. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of adjustability. So when I designed the newest one, I also was kind of trying to keep in mind having this to where a kid could use it, it'd just be adjusted for them. So the seat mechanism is, of course, on the same air ride that I used before. Bottom mechanism is actually powered to move the whole seat mechanism out, and then the seat is actually on like automotive style seat rail, so it'll move back and forth relative to the shifter. The shifter's mounted to the seat mechanism, and then the whole seat mechanism is sitting on a appliance rollers like you'd use on a large refrigerator, so that also limits its movement to being straight in and out. And then the steering wheel is on an electric lift, so it will go up and down relative to the operator. So a huge advantage with not only the rack mount stuff for electronics is, this was originally a PlayStation, and then I added in an Xbox. I had Xbox and PlayStation, and then I've later changed to the Xbox One. I've changed butt kickers around. Just been a few different additions electronic wise. Alright, so we're going to take out those pedals on the G27 and go to these. Much smoother. Actually, pressure sensor, a degressive clutch. And we got to make that all fit in there. But one of the big rebuilds for it was actually going from a Logitech G27 wheel to a Fanatic system. So they're Club Sport wheel, pedals, and I have this 7-speed shifter. It converts to a sequential shifter. They're analog handbrake, so the newest electronic package is very nice. It's got a digressive style clutch pedal, so it changes resistance depending how far you are. It's a more pressure sensitive brake pedal, so it's not position, it's how much force. And all of that made a huge difference. The force feedback on the new wheel is significant and can add to the driving pleasure. Can be a little much for kids, so you got to watch the settings if you're letting them play. So this design was intended to actually have it automated for opening, and that's why there's a couple electric actuators moving some things. Never really finished that. Previous house I was in, it would have been a little more necessary and close it up more often. And when we built a new house, we actually just kind of made a game room is essentially what we call it, but it's where we watch most of the TV on this. And most of the time I just fold it back in the chair down, and it's plenty of it to watch TV. So we don't fold it up as much. I never dove back in to get the rest of the actuators to make it fully automated, but it's not too bad to stow away if you need to. If someone did build one like this and wanted automated, I was going to use a PLC controller, but there's probably several options to do that. So the top shelf for this, the covering plate, I guess you could say, that one is actually on cabinet drawer type guides. Now it ended up being a little heavy top, so I actually had to make my own rollers for the tips of it. So there's actually, in the steel frame, I had to actually make rails that rides on. The front doors are just standard hideaway cabinet door hinges. So again, the mechanism or the doors are a little heavy, but not too much. Just takes a little more adjustment to get those right. Sides are race style quarter turn fasteners, and did have a steel back on it at the last house just because of where it sat. I don't have those on here, they bolt on, but all the side and back plates, the reason I have those on some way to remove them is it just makes working on it, and whether it's just changing electronics out or if there's a mechanism failure, that much easier. You don't have to crawl under it like it's underside of a dash of a car or anything. So it's actually painted in just a single stage automotive paint. Probably might redo that at a later point to a full 2-stage and have it look a little nicer, but I was just seeing experimenting with single stage, seeing if I wanted to do it for a different car project. But this nice project to try it on because it works good enough for furniture, but I wasn't gonna put it on my car, at least, and not that color. There was a couple reasons behind that, but it was nice to see it on something large and steel to see how it looked. And thanks for watching.